Good evening. It's a great honor and pleasure to be with you tonight. And by the way, what Edward said, the two most difficult things to find, the birth certificate and Osama bin Laden. Well, I'd sure like to get Osama bin Laden's body up from the bottom of the sea and check the fingerprints. And I do want to see the long-form birth certificate in the vault in Hawaii that still no one can see. So I'm not sure either one's been found yet. And that's going to lead me to one of my major themes, that it's shocking, but the truth, that we have a president of the United States who does not know how not to tell a lie. I mean, I think it's open his mouth and the lying begins. And what I prove in the Where's the Birth Certificate is, in fact, President Obama is not eligible to be president and should be removed from office. Now, I begin, I think it's always, I put 125 exhibits in the book, and it's always remarkable. The initial attack was not on Barack Obama, it was on John McCain. Do you remember that? The Democrats attacked McCain. Here's the Wall Street Journal, February 28, 2008. The McCain has a birthplace problem. Remember, John McCain was born in the Panama Canal Zone. And so the Democrats launched a major campaign. Of course, here we've got the ABC, Washington Post, May 2nd, 2008, on McCain's birth problem. Well, they didn't call themselves birthers then. They weren't ridiculing the Democrats or the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or the Washington Post for raising questions about John McCain's birth. But yet today, anyone dares ask the question about Barack Obama, you're ridiculed. Well, this is the double standard, the hypocrisy that the left has used to protect Obama, and I intend to expose it and continue to expose it, and we'll do so here tonight, because it's time for the lying to stop. When I showed in the book what John McCain did, does everybody remember what John McCain did? He went to the Senate and presented his birth credentials. John McCain showed that he, in fact, was a natural-born citizen. And you recall that Article 2, Section 1 says not just a citizen required to be president, but a natural-born citizen, a subset of citizens that's more restrictive. Well, the Senate decided in Senate Resolution 511 that John McCain was a natural-born citizen, and they got advice from all sides of the legal spectrum that, in fact, he was a natural-born citizen because, first of all, he had two U.S. citizens who were parents when he was born. And secondly, that he was not born in the United States. The Founding Fathers never intended it to be a disqualification if you were born outside the country because your parents were serving the country and the U.S. military in defense of the country at the time, and that's why your mother and father were out of the country, which in fact was the case. John McCain's father was a naval officer at that Panama Canal naval base, and John McCain had to go so far as to even produce the doctor that delivered him, prove that there was a base hospital, prove that he was born on the base hospital. The Democrats pressed it down to that level of detail. Now, Barack Obama co-sponsored the resolution and yet did not submit his birth qualifications to the Senate for equal examination. Do you know why? He can't. Obviously, first of all, his father was a Kenyan citizen when he was born and then throughout his lifetime, which means that Barack Obama, at his birth, was a dual citizen, a citizen of the Commonwealth of Great Britain, because Kenya was a Commonwealth country, and through his mother, a citizen of the United States. Well, the Founding Fathers never meant a dual citizen to be a natural-born citizen. In fact, what they desperately wanted to prevent was someone who had backdoor citizenship ties to Great Britain to suddenly be able to get to be President of the United States. So Barack Obama dodged the issue. And what I want to say is, even first of all, if he was born in Hawaii, it doesn't matter. Because Barack Obama is not qualified to be president because his father was Kenyan when he was born. And he did not have two U.S. citizens who were parents at the time of his birth. That's a major qualification. And like the Supreme Court cases, the only one really on point is an 1874 case, Minor v. Happersett. And the Democrats and the left now want to make it so just so you're born in the United States, that's good enough. You know, a naturalized citizen recently, obviously not even born in the United States, got the FEC, the Federal Elections Committee, to allow him to set up a committee to run for president. Now, the reason this is important is our founding fathers wanted the President of the United States to have sole nationality, allegiance to the United States. And if we're going to start ignoring Article 2, Section 1, then we might as well just throw the Constitution away. The left wants to say, oh, this is xenophobic. You know, it doesn't take into account diversity. Well, our founding fathers had a good point, and unless we repeal that amendment, we need to respect Article 2, Section 1. And that's my major point. And we're going to run against it over and over again. Marco Rubio's father was not a U.S. citizen when he was born. Bobby Jindal's parents, neither one were U.S. citizens when he was born. I think both of them are not natural-born citizens. And it's an issue that if, in fact, Marco Rubio was going to run for the vice president, and if he ever does decide to, I'll be opposing on that basis. Now, then we get from Barack Obama that he's born in Hawaii. Well, you know, I started researching Barack Obama in 2006, and I realized that Hawaii was probably the worst place ever to get birth credentials. I have a picture. You can't see it in the book, but it's here. Hawaii gave Sun Yat-sen a birth certificate, born in Hawaii. You know who Sun Yat-sen was? He was a nationalist communist leader, a nationalist Chinese leader, anti-communist. And he wanted at the time to be able to, at this point in his life, to say that he was born in Hawaii. It was 1916 or 1917 that he got the birth certificate, 1904. And in fact, I found in the Library of Congress a list of people from Hawaii who gave in affidavits, and they said, well, Sun Yat-sen was born here, we were present at his birth. And Hawaii said, that's good enough for us. Sun Yat-sen is born in Hawaii. Well, if Sun Yat-sen was born in Hawaii, anybody could be born in Hawaii. Everybody sitting here could be born in Hawaii. All you have to do is go get some affidavits and submit them to the Hawaii Health Department, and you'll be born in Hawaii. Now, I was especially drawn to the question when Barack Obama first said that he was born in Queens Medical Center. And I put in the book and let you see in the exhibits, I published the exhibits so you could see the evidence yourself. That he was born at Queens Medical Center in Hawaii. That's what the family said. He was born at Queens Medical Center. Well then, yes, there's a Queens Medical Center. It was right there. And then suddenly the family decided, no, we're sorry. It was actually Kapiolani Medical Center. And I've even got pictures here of UPI articles where it's switched. They took out Queens and put in Kapiolani. Now, first of all, you cannot be born in two hospitals at the same time. Anybody here born in two hospitals? Anybody here got a confusion about which hospital you were born in? You know, oh, I don't know where I was born. I don't remember what hospital. Everybody knows what hospital they were born in, and nobody's confused about it. Now, I want to start first with a common sense understanding of this issue. Barack Obama spent millions of dollars and has spent over 3 years not showing his birth records from Hawaii. Now, if in fact he was born in Hawaii and these records were available, why wouldn't you just say to Hawaii, Let anybody who wants to see them see them. Even on April 27th, when my book was coming out, the White House did not show the records in Hawaii. They showed an electronic file, a PDF, which, by the way, is so obviously fraudulent that it's silly. You can take and move the pieces around. You can take the dates, take the stamps from the registrar, you can move them off the document. The whole thing is a constructed document in electronic form. And then they showed two other versions of it, a handout that the Associated Press did a copy of that is on blue paper. Well, the PDF is on green background paper. And then a photographer was allowed to take one picture of another certificate that had a seal on it. Well, that one was another color. It was gray, and it had hash mark background on it, which the AP didn't have. So we've got three different versions released by the White House on April 27th of a document, and all these are supposed to be a Xerox of the original, which you can't see. Okay, now, why the press isn't all over that story is because the press is in the bag for Obama. And they want to accuse anyone like me who cares about the Constitution and dares ask a question to this president as a racist. Well, when I researched it, I found that every single aspect that Barack Obama has presented about his life is a lie. Barack Obama said his mother and father were together, and the family got split up when Barack Obama Sr., the father, went to Harvard in 1962, and that broke the family up. Well, I researched it and went to the University of Washington in Seattle and found it wasn't the case. Within 3 weeks of the baby being born, Ann Dunham, the mother, was enrolled at the University of Washington in Seattle taking extension courses. I got from the university her transcript. The university sent me the catalog showing that these extension courses were night courses held on the university campus. I interviewed the babysitter. I have a photograph of the house that she rented an apartment in. Ann Dunham was gone 3 weeks after the baby was born, and she never returned to Hawaii until after Barack Obama Sr. left. In fact, we now have the immigration naturalization file from Barack Obama Sr. The INS, like me, couldn't find a marriage certificate for Barack Obama's mother and father. And the INS said that if Barack Obama Sr., who they documented, had a lot of girlfriends at the University of Hawaii at this time, and was not living with Ann Dunham, if he was going to use that he had a U.S. wife and a U.S. child as a means and a reason to extend his stay in the United States, they were going to contest it. Because they didn't think they were married, and they didn't think this was Barack Obama Sr.'s child. Now, when you get down to that level of lie, you're almost dealing with someone who's got a life history that is created like an intelligence disinformation story. It's almost like a KGB makeup job to throw you off the case. And in fact, when I went to Kenya, the view is commonly in Kenya that Barack Obama was born there, in Mombasa. I've gotten documents, I've published them. The Kenyan government told George W. Bush when he was president, because George W. Bush was looking for Obama's birth records, that they had been criminally destroyed in Kenya. But the Kenyan government believed they once existed. And Barack Obama, I'm confident, when he was there in 2006, campaigning for Odinga, who is now the prime minister, arranged to get the birth documents destroyed. Barack Obama put $1 million into Odinga's campaign. I've got the records on that from Kenya as well. Probably also in violation of any number of US laws. But the fact is, if in fact there were birth records, we are 3 years into the presidency and we still don't know who this guy is. We don't have any of his travel records. We don't have his passport records. You can't see his records from school, even kindergarten. They're sealed. Say, well, what about his records when he was a state legislature? Oh, we didn't keep a calendar. You know, the dog ate every single one of Barack Obama's senior records. They're gone. The dog ate them. I'm sorry, we used to have the birth certificate around here. It's in a oh, the dog ate it. Dog likes these kind of things. And the American people, the American press lets Obama get away with it. We don't have his health records. We have a statement from a doctor which is about 2 paragraphs long. We don't have any grades from any school he attended. We don't have any of the records that would be normal for a person to produce to document who they are. And they are intentionally hidden. So I point out there was a group of 5 people in Iowa. They were employed to work with administering for the federal government tuition scholarships. They were looking up records of movie stars. They looked up Barack Obama's. The next day, the FBI was in the office and arrested them all. It's not only that these records are sealed. If you dare to look at any Barack Obama records, they're all attached so that the government knows and they'll be on top of you for doing so. Now, what I want to tell you is that this is about to stop. I went down in August to Arizona. Many of you may have seen the speech on the internet. I spoke with a Tea Party group in Phoenix, Arizona. It's called the Surprise Arizona Tea Party Group, the Surprise Tea Party Group. Well, the surprise was we got 250 people at a meeting like this to sign a petition asking Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Maricopa County, and you all know who Sheriff Joe Arpaio is, enforcing the border, to investigate Obama birth certificate fraud on the basis that they were residents of Maricopa County. And in fact, if Barack Obama used a falsified birth certificate in order to get on the ballot for president in Arizona in 2012, their rights as voters in Maricopa County would have been compromised by that fraud. When we published this book, I said to Joseph Farah, don't change the title. Why? Joseph said, we could make it, like unfit for president, like unfit for command. I said, no, I want the title the same. I'd been tipped off a month before we published the book that Barack Obama had falsified the birth records and they were about to release them. But I said, let's keep the title the same. The book still became a bestseller. We've still sold about 100,000 copies of it. And said, if we can just get Obama to be so afraid of what's coming down the pike, can't stand this book to be read, be a bestseller, that he releases a fraudulent document, everything's different. Because the day before April 27th, when Obama, on April 27th, came to the White House press room and said, this is my birth certificate, everything changed. Why? Because now they've released a fraudulent document. And a fraudulent birth record is a crime. And a crime is a high crime, it's a high crime and misdemeanor to forge a birth record. Now, the day after I gave the speech in Arizona, we went to see Joe Arpaio. And Joe Arpaio had a meeting, about 5 or 6 of them from the Tea Party group, all of Joe Arpaio's staff. Joe Arpaio didn't know why we were there. So we get into the discussion, and Joe Arpaio is realizing that we're talking about the President of the United States. He gets the legal theory. And he looks at me and says, Corsi, what you're asking me to do is to basically go arrest the President of the United States. Is that it? And I said, yes, Sheriff Joe, that's about it. And what's taking you so long? Then we went along, the discussion went along a little bit more, and he turned to me again. Another one of those realizations hit him. And he said, you're basically here, Corsi, right? Because I'm the last hope you've got. Nobody else in this country will listen to you. The FBI won't, the Department of Justice won't under Eric Holder, Attorney General won't. Nobody's going to listen to you except for maybe me. Is that right? I said, well, yes, Sheriff, I think that's about it. You're the last recourse. So he thought about it for about 3 weeks, and you know what he did? Everybody in the room know what he did? Well, it didn't get much reported, but Joe Arpaio has a posse group. He has a volunteer group of 3,000 people, which means the people in Maricopa County don't have to pay for that service. And he had a cold case posse group in it, in which he'd put his experienced law enforcement officers and lawyers who had research or experience with investigations. Well, Joe Arpaio assigned the cold case posse to investigate a law enforcement investigation of Barack Obama's forged birth certificate. He decided to take it on. Well, this is monumental. This is the first time Barack Obama's got a duly constituted law enforcement group looking at a crime he or others around him may have committed to get and to keep the presidency. And I'm confident, I'm confident that within a few weeks, again, it's not been reported, press doesn't want you to know about it. I think within a few weeks, that cold case posse will call for a criminal investigation of Barack Obama's birth certificate. Now, the day that happens, everything changes. How is Barack Obama going to ignore this? I mean, they may send Eric Holder down to see Joe Arpaio personally. You know, the day after Arpaio did this, I published in a WorldNet Daily. Arpaio called me up on the telephone the next morning. Almost the first call I got was Arpaio. He said, I'm getting calls from everyone. What'd you do to me? He said, the governor's calling, the White House is calling, everybody's calling. I said, well, so, Joe, what'd you tell him? He said, well, I told him I'm probably going to investigate. Because, see, he can't be stopped. He is the chief law enforcement officer in Maricopa County, and he has jurisdiction over the issue. Now, I'm contemplating this. It seems to me, it's pretty remarkable that we have to go to a county sheriff in order to get the law, the Constitution, enforced against the President of the United States. But, it hasn't always been much different in the United States. Our founding fathers were upset, and it's in the First Amendment, because nobody would listen to them either. They couldn't express a grievance. The king didn't care. The king's representatives didn't care. And our founding fathers said, we have no redress for grievances. And that's when they decided that they would, in fact, have to form the United States of America. Well, we're back at the same point. We have a lawless Attorney General in the person of Eric Holder, and he needs to go. And if it takes one man, one person, Joe Arpaio, to stand up and say, I'll investigate, that's all it's ever taken. It always has taken a John Adams or a Thomas Jefferson, one person willing to say, we aren't going to take this anymore. And I think what you're finding in the United States, and it's building, is all through the country, we're saying, anybody but Obama. And while it hasn't gotten to the point yet, I'm going to tell you, I think it's 50-50 Obama might not run. Because I know what the investigation will show. And I know Joe Arpaio's people are going to do their job. They will call for this to be investigated. I've already proven that a group called OBOTs, the Obama robot supporters, have forged Obama birth documents and bragged about it on the internet. They forged a very famous document known as the Bomford document, which was a birth certificate from somebody born in Kenya living in Australia, and it was modified to put Obama's information in it. They did it as a joke. Well, Orly Tates, they got that document to Orly Tates, the attorney in California, and Orly Tates submitted it in a U.S. District Court filing. Now, a forged document gotten to a lawyer, entered into a federal case, is a federal crime. And that we can prove happened, and when Joe Arpaio's group sees that, they're going to say, what other documents did these people forge? And it needs to be investigated. So Barack Obama will not pass easily through what's coming down on the birth certificate. In the end, we're going to be vindicated on it, because I'll tell you, having analyzed it, I produced 20 experts, wrote about them in WorldNet Daily. This is a forged document. And within the next few weeks, that's going to become abundantly apparent to Americans across the country. And the president is going to have to go into a re-election with a potentially criminal investigation beginning in Arizona, which could lead to indictments or the question that he might not be allowed to be on the Arizona ballot until he proves, with the release of the original material in Hawaii, what the truth is. And if those documents are forged, then in fact a lot of people are going to go to jail. And it's just going to take one sheriff to investigate it. At the same time, you've got the investigations going on all these green energy companies. And it's not just Solyndra. I haven't had time to write about it, but there's a whole series of cases I've investigated where Obama has put fundraisers, bundlers into these bogus green companies and gotten the millions of dollars of taxpayer money when the companies have gone bankrupt. Fast and Furious will soon be shown to have been decided in the Oval Office. And at least Eric Holder is going to have to take a fall on that one. These issues coming up against Obama, when we are faced with an economy that is going to almost certainly worsen, I don't see how Greece will not default. We're going to be faced with the breakup of the euro. We're going to be into an economic situation that is going to be worse than the Depression. And I've been writing since I wrote America for Sale saying, this is not a recession, this is what globalism looks like. And it was created intentionally by the globalists who want the International Monetary Fund and the UN to rule the world economy. And it's going to come crashing down because it too is a lie. Now, I'm going to end this with one caution, because this is a very high stakes game. And what Obama and Odinga did in Kenya, when Odinga lost the election for president in 2007, and I have the memos internally from the Odinga campaign that indicated this was a strategy. Do you know what they did? It caused a race war between the Luo tribe, Obama's Luo tribe, Odinga's Luo tribe, and the Kikuyu. And they killed about 1,000 people. Got about 500,000 people that left their homes rather than stay there and get killed in the violence. And Obama intervened along with Kofi Annan from the UN, and Odinga got made co-head of state to stop the violence. What Obama will almost certainly do, and we're seeing the first signs of it now with the unrest of these Wall Street protesters, whom you noticed Obama has endorsed, is that before we're done, Obama, if he decides he's going to stay in power, will have no problem causing riots in the street, promoting race riots, and causing chaos to argue that he needs to stay to be president. What I want everyone to be aware of is that we need to say in response, no way. We aren't putting up with it. If there's protesters in the streets, bring in law enforcement and get them out of the streets. We did it in the 1960s. I don't think the American people are going to be cowed or through fear allowing Barack Obama to be re-elected. But when I wrote Unfit for Command, worked with John O'Neill and the Swift Boats, I know that as long as Barack Obama is talking about his birth certificate, he's losing. And the issue is not going away. What's going to happen in the next few months is it's going to get possibly more intense in terms of the politics than at any time since the 1930s, combined with the 1960s. We're going to have severe economic depression, plus domestic civil violence. And that's going to be an equation that's going to take some strong leaders to stand up and support the Constitution. Because if we go back to our founding principles, we go back to the fact of government by law, and we quit the lying, American people can solve this problem. But American people need to be told the truth, and the lying has to stop. That's why I'm resolved to continue working with Joe Arpaio until this investigation is finished, continuing pressing the case of the American people until we realize that we have someone in the White House who isn't eligible to be president, and he needs to be removed. Last thought I want to leave you with is, despite what I see as difficult times coming, I'm resolved with a meeting tonight, this many people getting together, with the speeches I've given in the last 3 weeks. I don't believe that God allowed the United States of America to be created to have a group of lying socialists and communists destroy it from within. So I'm going to conclude with the prayer, God bless the United States, and God bless the John Birch Society. Thank you.